Afternoon, good evening, everyone. Trust everybody is doing well. Um, this is 10 minutes past the hour, and then we can go ahead and kick off. Um, we are in our product deep dive call that we have. This happens monthly on the third Saturday of each month, where we get our practitioners come in and then um, walk us through a particular product area or suite of products. Then they pick a particular a product, give us an overview of it, and then a demo on an aspect of it, like if it belongs to a suite, things like that. So we also do have the monthly support call, which is, ask and answer, get to meet our practitioners, which, are in the space. They share their journey with us, and then also the answer questions we'll have, um, which is similar to what we are doing here, but now this is much more deep dive into the product. That one is the first Saturday of each month. We get the practitioners to come in, we get to meet them, and then we interact in that regard. It's all online via WebEx. You do have the reactions in there. You are able to raise your hand if you have questions. You can also put the questions in the chat because we would have time to wrap that up, where we will have our practitioner actually answer questions in the chat and then provide any thoughts or recommendations before we actually round it off. um, just as an FYI, uh, we already have Hafiz come on the call already. Hafiz, you too will be yielded the floor to you, so that he can begin by introducing himself and then going through to give us a deep dive on the customer service management application and its use case. Thank you. Hafiz, over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, great. Thank you for the introduction. I will share my screen now and we will begin. Great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect. Yes. Good morning or afternoon, everybody. My name is Hafiz Shitu. Yeah. So today, initially, the plan was for me to speak about CSM and keep it generic, just an overview. But I felt it would be a better idea for me to pick a section or a scope of CSM, which has to do with its interaction or its association with ITSM, which is, I believe, is in demand right now for most companies that are trying to transition into leading practices, going from, customizing ITSM to using both CSM and ITSM for their service management. So I felt like speaking about that niche, speaking about that sector will be more productive than just speaking vaguely about ITSM. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So a brief introduction about myself. Like I said earlier, my name is Hafiz Shitu. I'm currently a solutions architect at CW. That I've been there for about a year right now. Before then, I was a technical consultant where, I did a lot of development work. But as a TC, then you do some development and some customer-facing development, not like a typical developer that you just background. So after I did that for a while, I felt confident enough to, maybe I should try becoming an essay. So I applied for it, did the interview, and I got it, and now I'm an essay. So before I joined CDW, my real specialization was the security aspect of ServiceNow. I liked the governance, risk, and compliance. I liked the security operations. I did some implementations in that field. And, and also I had some broad understanding of ITSM and CSM. But then I felt like I wanted to concentrate on security. But after joining CDW, a bunch of my implementations has come from CSM and that's come from the ITAM space. So now I have a mixture of specializations, which I implement or I like to implement. And apart from that, I also attend my CTA last year. Yes, I met Mr. Emeka at the knowledge event this year as well. It was a great meeting. So yeah, that's been my experience at preparing service now. That's not been a very long journey, but it has been a productive journey. We thank God for that. So now let's discuss briefly about the case study. What we'll be speaking about visualizing and architecting in a way. So when I joined this project, so this is a real life scenario for me, something I'm still going to implementing. It looks like it's going to be more than a year, but I've been there for about 2 to 3 months, and it's been interesting. So when I came to this project, I came in at almost the end of the CSM implementation, but I did some of that, and I'm also working on the ITSM, and I'm working on how we can merge the CSM and the ITSM to make it a seamless integration. So right now, when I came in, I saw the case study from the SOW, the statement of work. So the clients currently utilize ITSM for customers' operational interaction. As we all know, ITSM is for the internal service management for the employees within an organization. But the clients we are working for have customers. So they customize ITSM to help resolve customer issues or customer cases or customer problems. And of course, so the ITSM has been customized to give customer access to internal portals, incident change, and problem records. As we all know, incident management, change management, and problem management are all internal processes. But to help facilitate customer satisfaction, they give customers access to all those internal information, which is also very risky, and there's high risk of security breaches. And lastly, the agenda for them is to implement CSM, and we are also to recommend new processes guided by leading practices. So the idea was, okay, this is how you do things today. How can we advise them on how to do things going forward? How can we help, with the change management to help their employees acclimatize to the new way of doing things? How can we advise them, recommend leading practices that's going to help them use CSM, get the full benefit of CSM, and also how does that CSM merge with ITSM? We are not here to destroy what they have, but to enhance it and to give them value for their money. So that is how we saw it, and that is the approach we were taking. So now, right now, there's a lot of risk associated with customizing ITSM for CSM purposes, which means using ITSM for the functionality of CSM leads to a lot of risk. First of all, there's maintenance issue. As we all know, when it's time for upgrade, the more customizations you have, the more headaches you have. It's very difficult to, do the upgrades because you have to go through every customization in the system to make sure that those customizations have functionalities, or let's say that this line of code that has been customized in a business rule. When you're upgrading, you have to make sure, okay, service now still supports the function, but it supports the library that the code used to operate. And if ServiceNow has stopped leveraging those functions, then there will be bugs after your upgrade. So when you over customize an application to look like another application, you risk the chance of over customization, which will of course takes us to the second point, increase the technical debt. So second point, another thing they are facing is the technical debt and the increased risk related to customizations, which I spoke about. So for you to make sure ITSM works like CSM, you need to create new tables, new roles to accommodate those functionalities you don't have in ITSM. So for instance, CSM has tables for customers, tables for consumers, tables for installed bases. The ITSM does not have. Now you need to create all those customized tables inside ITSM so you can use ITSM to work on CSM. And of course, that leads to bugs, that leads to difficulty in maintenance. So that's another issue that this company is facing. And again, another thing is that we're using ITIL-based processes to support business processes. And as we all know, ITSM was built on the ITIL library or ITIL framework, which means the ITIL role can do a lot of things within ITSM. But CSM is not necessarily ITIL based. So in fact, ITIL role does not have any leverage or any permission in the CSM. So now you're giving ITIL users ability to do CSM, which is also another security risk, which you don't want to do. So finding a way to segregate those users, those roles, those are something that the company wants to use forward. So we have to take that into consideration as well. And again, inability to adopt agent and customer experiences to improvement delivered with each new out-of-the-box SM releases. So CSM is really amazing when it comes to agent and customer experiences, and they want to utilize those functionalities. There's a limit to the amount of customization you can do to ITSM. So it's wiser for you to, okay, use a spoon for a spoon and use a fork for a fork. Of course, you can use a fork for a spoon, but it's not going to work the same way. So let's get the best value for our money. So let's implement CSM. And, delivering potential inferior customer service as well is another thing. Because of, the customer experience is better in CSM. So you using ITSM for customer experience will not work as well as CSM. So that's another risk, that's another problem that we're facing. So they articulated all these things to us, and it was our job to look into it. And as an architect, it's my job to draw an architectural framework or find a technical solution for how we can seamlessly transition from how they were doing things to how things should be done. And of course, accompanying me on the project was a BPC who worked majorly on the process. Okay, what's your process now? How do you satisfy your customers? Then his job is to understand it and to draft a new process that they should follow to get the value for their money. And my part was to look from a technical standpoint. Okay, how do customers interact through the portal? How do they submit their cases? How do you process the cases? Okay, I see that right now they customize a table called ticketing, and that is what they're using for what case is to CSM. Okay, so I could see that there's some similarities. We're going to replace TKT with case. How does TKT merge with incident problem change? I have to understand that. Okay, going forward, we're going to do it this way. So my job was to come in and give technical solutioning for the problems. So we understood the risk, and now we had to give solution. So my approach today was, rather than just give you just a read from a book or just give you a vague introduction of CSM, my approach is to kind of speak to how I approach solutioning or how I approach finding my resources or how I approach understanding what I do for projects. So that leads us to the fifth slide. The resources I leverage to provide solutioning. So before I did this, I went through one of the past recording that Mr. Mega did, and he did a great job in speaking about where we can find resources, where we can learn, what we can leverage, and all the value service now offers so that we can improve our skills. So, which is the same thing I do, honestly. There's nothing special. It's the same place everybody goes to. It's just how much I really need to look for, the materials. So these are three things. These are three things I always leverage when it's time for me to implement. I use Now Create, Now Learning, and Guideator. Trust me, you don't. I mean, you might need not more than this, depending on the complexity of your solutioning. But for me, this is what I always stick to: Now Create, Now Learning, and my PDI Guideator. This helps me to structure. Okay, how am I going to solution? When BAs are writing stories, how do I technically guide them? How do I prioritize what story we're going to do first? What story we're going to do last? And how do I categorize stories into, configuration and customization which will depend on that makes me understand how much point, how much hours I was assigned to each stories. So I use this as my framework to guide me. For this talk about now create, I'm pretty sure a lot of us know about now create, excuse me, and the functionality of now create and the value it offers. Let me put this here. Yes. So when I first got this project, I'm like, man, what is this? Like, how do I help a whole organization restructure all their, their process or architect design? So I went to now create, I put in CSM with ITSM, and I got the implementation guide. And then I downloaded this document. I went through it. So this right here is a generic document, of course. It won't be enough to solve the customer's problem.
Yeah,
But when
are
you
you
go
sharing a
through,
different screen, or did you try to get to the document or
oh,
show? Now create. We're seeing
are
the
you seeing that great?
we're seeing the just your just your PowerPoint slide. The now create screen is
Oh,
not showing it.
man, thank you very much for
Oh,
speaking.
thank
I don't know. This is my first time using WebEx. So,
okay. Okay.
let me.
If you're sharing, you have to share the whole window so that you can now get back in.
Okay. All right. Let me
Anyway,
stop
just
sharing and share
okay.
again. Thank you for. I was just talking. God. Oh, share entire screen. Got it. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
And let's wait a little bit. It will soon come. All right, got it. That's it. Uh-huh.
Uh, thank you. Oh, share entire screen, not share. Uh,
Yes,
thank
but
you.
just you switch as you need. Yeah, good deal.
All right. So, the first thing I did was, okay, I need to learn about this thing. They are trying to go from customer facing ITSM to setting an ITSM. So they are dividing these things and they are trying to get the best value from both applications. So, okay, I went through this. I'm going to now create, I just keep searching random things, see what can pop up. And then I found this document. And then, of course, I downloaded it, which is something you can do, in your spare time if you want to know more about this. So I go into now create, I look at what people have done in the past, I look at the document service now offers. So I use that to give myself an understanding of, what this is, on the like get a better knowledge about it. Then I understand the foundation, and then I understand the customer's requirement, and then I combine them together so I can personalize this implementation to their requirements. So this now creates the first thing I always use when I'm on a new project, so I can understand better and I can advise better. So that, and and again, so we can always just go to CS and just go through this and play around it. So okay, yeah. So as you can see, this offers you a lot of information about CSM when just typing CSM in our create. Another thing the customers wanted to leverage is, all of our agents, when they are resolving customer cases, they always work on the form view. They work with the fields and they don't think, and they have to go from one page to another page to gather information, and it seems like it wasn't efficient enough. So another thing that we sold to them was the workspace in CSM. The workspace is quite different from the native form view. So understanding, okay, how the workspace work, I came into here, read some things, and even when it was time for the BAs to write stories, I came in here, downloaded this for them, and I sent it to them as starter stories. They were so impressed, like, man, thanks for telling these stories, but they don't know that I just downloaded it for free in now create. So this just gave them something to start working with, and these are, industry standard stories that helps on the foundational level. And task intelligence, CSM engagement, messenger implementation guide. Well, this was out of scope, so thank God I left this alone. CSM with ITSM implementation guide, this was something I really, really utilized. Like I told you, this gave me an understanding of how CSM works, how ITSM works, and how they work together. And I was able to use this to advise the customers on how they should model, their processes going forward. Of workspaces in CSM. So a lot of things that were in scope that we had to implement for them. I came into this place, I read about them, I downloaded the necessary documents, and this was what I used for the implementation. So it was literally that simple. Come in here. Now Create has a lot of documents that you can leverage. Trust me, nobody knows it all. Everybody's just learning from somewhere. So coming into this place will give you a good starting point on what to know and how to communicate with the clients. Okay, let me put this down. Just this up here. Yes. Can you see the slide now?
Yeah, we see the slide.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing it. Great. So that's the first one. Another thing I always utilize is Now Learning. The beauty about working for a partner is that every course on Now Learning is free. I can go into Now Learning, I can click on any course whatsoever, and I can just open the learning path and I can learn everything for free. That is priceless. Before I joined the partner, when I wanted to do my a long time ago, I wanted to do my developer exam. I had to pay 2,500 then, 2,400 to write the exam and to get access to the card. Because back then, card was only live sessions. You could not even do on demand. So I had to go for 2,500 to learn all these things. But working for a partner is so great that I mean, there are the pros and cons working for a partner. The pros is that the resources to learn are free. You can go into Now Learning, study anything you want. You can get all the textbooks you need. You can, really dive into the knowledge aspect of things. But working for a partner again requires you to diversify knowledge. You have to learn different things. You have to be good at different applications. You can throw into anything. You can be on three, four, five projects at the same time. But on the developing stage, which I still believe I believe working for a partner is where I can, learn and adapt quickly. So Now Learning is also another important material that you can learn, gain more knowledge about the applications themselves. So yes, so still, to understand the scope and to understand the interaction between CSM and MPSM, I went into Now Learning. Luckily for me, I went into the CSM on demand course, and here they have the service CSM and process integration aspect of things. Let's open this. Yes, and this also helped understanding the similarities and differences in ITSM. Because you see, for the customers, they don't understand, okay, what's ITSM, what's CSM? They understand their work, they understand what they do on a day-to-day basis. So I had to come into this place. I had to look at, okay, I had to learn myself, I had to understand the differences, and I had to learn how to articulate those differences to customers. So I came into this place, I came here, I studied this, yeah, so similarities and differences. I understood this. This diagram is one thing, just this one diagram alone was like a mind opener for the clients. Mind you, I came into this project, they were like 3/4 of the way, and they still did not understand the difference between CSM and ITSM. So me coming to the project, I was able to you leverage these materials to explain to the customers. CSM is customer facing, ITSM is internal. Your customers will not have access to incident problem change. They only have access to the case, and they can interact to the backend through the case record. And how to articulate that, and how to speak to them, and so they will understand that, okay, this is what we're doing, and then it was easy to go forward with them. So another thing I leveraged was this, and the key stakeholders are also important. So I had to understand, okay, these are the stakeholders we need. These are the people who are in charge of ITSM. These are the people who are in charge of CSM. We need this team and this team here and there. So there has to be a restructuring of the organization and how things are being done. And we all know that human beings really do oppose, or they are opposed to change. So it was important for us to make things suitable for them to digest, so that it will be easier for them to understand, and so that they can, be on board. And in every implementation, I always start with pushing the advantage, and pushing the I won't say profit, or pushing how this will benefit them and how this will make their work easier. If you can push ease to people, they'll be more inclined to follow your recommendations. So this is another thing I leverage to help me understand, oh, okay, this is what CSM is, this is what ITSM is, this is what these people do, this is what these people do. And once I understood it for myself, it was easier for me to build slides and communicate this back to the customers. And yeah, so I leverage this as well. So before we go forward, I also like to touch a little bit about ITSM, or sorry, CSM, especially the business model, because I believe that is one thing that the customers were find difficult to understand. If I can find the place. Okay. This is quite slow today. Okay. So I'll speak about foundational details in the next state, but now I just want to, speak about, ITSM, the business models, the people, how it works, and all these things. Just the key components, the key concepts. So yeah, I'll speak about foundational data coming soon, but let me start with the CSM business models. So when it comes to CSM, there are two. Yes, so there are two or three, depending on how you look at it, business models that typically companies that implement CSM have. Some of them have everything, some of them have just one. For instance, the company we're implementing for right now has a business to business model, which makes it quite easy for us, right? So some of them have a business to consumer model. So let's imagine, like, okay, MTN now. MTN sells you a SIM card, but for you to use to gain connection, you need to buy a recharge card. So imagine me as a consumer, I go to MTN office to go and buy a recharge card. So that's a business to consumer, because I'm going directly. There's no middleman. I, as a person, I'm going directly to the business. So some business offer services or products to their consumers directly without any middleman. So for that, they have consumers, and all those consumer information is stored in CSM. So how do you interact with your consumer? Let's say, man, I'm trying to call, but my network is down, or my network is not going, or the card I loaded is not working. Then I have to call customer center. Hey, my phone is not connecting. What's wrong? So for them to process my case, that is where CSM comes in. How do companies help external customers, external consumers resolve their cases? So ITSM is, how do companies help their internal employees resolve their issues? So CSM is external, ITSM is internal. But some companies use ITSM for external, which is bad practice. So that's business to consumer. So business to business. Now, this is quite interesting. So same idea. Let's say, there's MTN, and then there's another big organization, like let's say UBA or something. And UBA requires MTN for their internet connections, for their phone calls, and for all those logistics. So that would be a B2B. So MTN is dealing with another big company, UBA. So that's going to be business to business. So of course, I know businesses will now have people internally, like their employees. So those employees inside their business is what we call customers. So when you look into the CSM records, you see consumers and you see customers. The customers are embedded inside the business. So MTN, me going directly to buy credit card from MTN makes me their consumer. But if MTN is working with UBA and one of the people in UBA is using MTN through UBA, now that's a customer because that person is embedded in the business. So that's going to be business to business interaction. So we have a B to B to C. That's business to customer. So let's imagine this again. MTN sells recharge card, but there's a big company that will buy the recharge card from MTN, will buy the service from MTN, and sell that service to customers. So that is a middleman. So business to customers. So this business in the middle can also take cases, resolve issues, sell products to regular consumers on behalf of MTN, who's the first business. So that is another business model. So you can see CSM has layers of layers, to how these things work and how they, interact with customers and consumers. But when we now get into the technical side, we realize that customers are referenced from the user table, but consumers are not referenced from the user table. But that'll be a conversation for another day because that will not be going into more of the technical aspect of it, and which comes in useful when you are trying to move information from one table to another, from one form, from one field to another. So those are typical business models of CSM. So that'll be the what I would touch in CSM alone. But going forward, I'll speak about CSM and ITSM. So I said I will talk about foundational data, right? So we'll do that later. So as I said, this is something we can leverage to learn, to understand any application, please. I know we have videos on YouTube. It's great. But for your foundational knowledge, you want to come into here, use the now learning course, understand what you're doing, then try the simulator as well. The beauty about simulator is even if you don't, it's free for everybody. You can, even if you don't have access to all the courses, you still have access to simulator. You can go in there, practice, run your stuff. I forgot what it's called. See, validate, see if it works, see if it doesn't work. You can learn from the simulator as well. Those are all the things I did to just gain the knowledge of whatever I do now. This thing I use is guided from PDI. This one comes in so useful when you start working. It is really, really. So this is my PDI here. Yes. So to be honest, this PDI is the same one I use for when I do demoing for the customers, when I'm gathering customers' requirements, when I'm selling them an idea. This is the same PDI I use. Like it's not special. This one, my typical regular PDI. I'm using it for this is like a multi-million-dollar implementation, and I'm using typical PDI because And this PDI is something everybody or anybody can gain access to, something everybody can use, something everybody can learn with. So all the things you need is already at your fingertips. It's basically what I'm saying. This is the PDI I use. And one thing I always use when it's time to implement for customers is I go to the, let me see, customer management. What is Oh, case management. Verification. See if customer service is what I'm supposed to do. So of course, but once you get your PDI, the first thing you have to do is go to the plugins, download. Okay, let me just show. So plugins from the application navigator, go in here. Anything you're trying to learn, any application whatsoever, just go in here. We type it. Let's see, CSM.
Are you able to move your screen again? Because it's just stuck in your landing page, the home page. It says hello Hafiz. That's all we see blocking
Right.
the
This project, so
PowerPoint.
yeah,
No,
this
you
project
know,
is on the
the
time.
thing it's fine. It depends on where you have it. Like which of the whether you're using your Chrome browser or which
Oh,
browser. You get what I mean?
oh, yeah.
Because if you're
Okay,
using that
yes,
one, you
yes.
can just go to that one and then be shifting as you like it, rather than I guess you might be using multiple screens. Maybe why?
Yeah, yes, yes. I did use multiple screens. Yes.
Oh yeah, maybe why. Then
Yeah,
that's
that's why. Yeah, but thanks. Just please, if you can see my screen, just call it out immediately, please.
okay.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Not yet. If you just wait for it.
Yeah, because another thing is that I didn't download the WebEx. I just used the
Yeah, you
browser.
can use if you use the browser, so long as you have that share all window, it should be or
Yeah,
share all screen, entire screen. It will allow everything. The only thing is that you would now from that one just be selecting the browser tab you want. Okay, good deal. Yeah, we're
okay,
dealing with you.
it's great. Right. So, like I said, the first step is come in here, go into CSM, and then you see all the CSM applications or anything that remotely close to it. I already downloaded all the CSM, the workspace, the integration, every single thing that I require. So this is a good place for you to start, download the whole thing, and when you have that, that's great. So after that, so when it comes to implementing, one thing I always do is I go to this thing called guided setup. Let me see. Yes. So as you can see, customer service, guided setup. Just if you follow this, you cannot get lost. You cannot have any problem. This is what I always follow for every implementation, and I appreciate every application that has every implementation like this, or this guided setup rather. So for I don't care if it's ITSM or CSM or HRSD, it doesn't exist. Or no, yeah, it doesn't exist. The ITBM wasn't one, it's not existing. Or any even GRC. The first thing for every implementation is always foundational data. The first thing you ask customers, okay, are you agreeing to service now? If the answer is yes, we need your foundational data. Is it housed somewhere else? Do you have any, environment that you have it stored in? And how do we integrate, or how do we transfer those information into ServiceNow or into CSM? So when it was time to implement, or when I joined the project, I asked questions, all this. Do we have the accounts? So account in CSM is company in ITSM. So account is what they call company. It's linked to the company table. So do we have that? Typically, if companies have ITSM, it's easy. They have company information ready. So import contacts. Remember I said contacts, which are also customers, is B2B. So contacts are every employee that works in the business. So remember this, let me go back. Yeah, remember I said, okay, let's say we have MTN selling to UBA. So contacts are all the employees in UBA that are using MTN. So that's it. So consumers are your direct uh, I'll say your direct customers, people that buy your service directly without any intermediary. And then import all your users and all your groups. Of course, we know users and groups are typical foundational data. Group members, assigned role, relationship, customer relationships, product models. So, sold model products, the products that you've sold to your customers in the past. So all this information are the things or the requirements that you have to gain from the clients you're implementing for. So when I started the project, these are the questions I asked them. Okay, do you have all this information? Do you have all this information? So I asked those people, do you have consumers? They said, oh no, that they don't sell directly to people, they sell to companies. So that's B2B. So that makes work easy. This gets cancelled. So the same process for implementation. Go down this list, get all this information from them. And the beauty about this guided tool right here is that, or this guided setup, is that it gives you the stages of implementation. It does so the way it's followed here from foundational data to external user roles to model foundation to case types. This is how you should follow the processes, the workshops of implementation. This is ServiceNow's recommended approach to implementation. So I always follow this. So this is how I ask them questions. Even when I joined, I realized that they skip some steps. Like, so I had to go back. Even last week, I was demoing escalation to them, something they should have done like 2 months ago. So, but I had to follow this and this kind of gives them the value and makes the customers more comfortable that, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. But this is what I use. The case types, okay? What kind of case do you use? Coming up, service now has two case types, product and order. So when a customer wants to create a case based on the product they bought or based on the product they want to buy, they use a product case type. But when a customer wants to order a product from a company, they use the order case type. So, and you can, depend on the business mode of the company, they can create new case types. And sometimes you want to write policies to um, customize or configure the behavior of the form. Of course, client scripts, server side, all those customer side, what's it called again? Yeah, server side and client side. Yeah. So all those things, record producers, all this setup will be done on this case type level. And then case management, So SLAs are something that I realized when you start working is a big deal. So SLAs is a service level agreement, and depending on the case type, different companies have different agreements, which means you have different SLAs. So one thing that I realized after speaking to them is that since their customers had access to incident, problem, change, they had the customer SLAs attached to incident, problem, and change. But now going forward, the customers will not have access to all those records. They will only have access to the case record. So now all those SLAs attached to those in ITSM records has to be attached to the case record. But after speaking to them, I realized that, hey, we can't just change SLAs like that. We need to speak to our lawyer, to our legal team, to the customers, change all these agreement papers so we can change the SLA. That's why I realized that, this implementations, it goes beyond just clicking button. There's a lot that goes behind it. So that alone, just taking care of this SLA definition is something that will take months and months to do because there are so many steps attached to it. And then, so case routing, so automatically routing cases to agents based on their skill level, their availability, things like that. That's one thing CSM gives us that ITSM does not. ITSM just gives us like, very few ways to automatically assign incident records, but case management goes really deep into auto assignments, escalation management. See, this is supposed to be done in level 4, I believe, but I was just doing this last week, so they skipped this all the week. I had to go through what they've done in the past to like let them understand. But if they have followed this process, nothing will be skipped because ServiceNow has given you every single thing you need to do to implement. So this alone for me is what I go through when I'm implementing. I keep it simple. I keep it straightforward. I go here and look at it step by step. I ask them, do you want this? Do you want this? Of course, I don't show them this like I'm showing us here. I have to take out information, print a PowerPoint, make it look fancy, ask them, okay, how do you want this to look like? You don't want to take them to the source. You want to like, make it seem like you don't want to it helps with your reputation.
Yeah,
So,
Okwe, I think you have your hands up. You have a question, so that we
yes,
can
sorry,
continue. Go ahead.
I missed it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hafiz. I think this has been very eye-opening, really, for me, myself. But I have a few questions. One, remember when we started, you talked about they want to use the ITSM for CSM. In order for them to achieve that, must they buy the CSM license itself, like the full CSM, or they just need to buy an aspect of it?
Thank you.
That is one question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your second question?
Yeah, the other one is as an architect, right? I know you are so much involved in roadmaps and timelines and things like this. And since you said sometimes you do come to this guidance center to give you an idea, how easy it is to determine a timeline? Because sometimes customers are like, okay, we want to do this. How long do you think it's going to take us? And we're like, what? Are they expect me to know that? So how do you get that kind of information across? Right? Let me just stop on those two for now.
Oh, great, thank you. Those are good questions. So, yeah, so back to the plugin, right? Typically, I always try to look into this because as an architect, you come in after the SOW has been drafted and all this has been done. So typically, we have like the master architect or the TA. Those are the guys that are coming and be like, okay, these are the things you need, these are the licenses you need, these are how much it's going to cost you, all those things. These are the guys that kind of get those informations already, and those are embedded in the SOW, the statement of work, so the clients know the cost implication of whatever the implementation will be. But when this thing comes, when CSM comes, they have to buy a license for CSM definitely, and it comes to just like the base functionalities. So if they want to like increase or get some additional functionalities, like let's say using assisted AI with CSM, or using some specific predictive intelligence with CSM, all those things, or performance analytics with CSM, all those things will come at an added cost. But the base CSM as on its own, or definitely as a licensing cost, they have to get that. So if they want some additional functionalities that don't come with the base CSM, they also have to get to buy those ones as well. So the base CSM does have a licensing cost, and any plugins you add to it to have licensing costs as well. So that is it. So for how much the licenses, honestly, I don't know that. That typically those informations is between sales and the master architect. While when they are selling, they make those arrangements, they have those conversations, those agreements, and then with whatever the customer is happy to sell, happy to buy, then they draft the SOW. So I work based on the SOW. So those conversations are had before I come into the picture. But going forward though, because I'm targeting to go into like a full TA role, which I spoke to my manager about, which so I would be able to have visibility into those conversations soon. but for now, I've not had it yet.
Right. TA role is basically the technical architect or platform architect. Basically, you're doing the same thing that a social architect is doing. The only thing now is, you're privy to, sales discussions or above
Mm-hmm.
you. So pretty much everything is going to really, delve down into sales. But to your point, Hafiz, yeah, it's very true. They need to subscribe. Everything is cost. How much, if they have
True.
ITSM right already, then what ITSM do they have? Do they have the professional one, or you can hop onto ServiceNow.com and then look at the product offerings that they have. You would see the baseline. You would see professional and the enterprise. So if they do not have the one that actually has that as an additional, they need to subscribe to that one like an add-on, because some of them come already pre-packaged. All it is plugins to be turned on. But if not, that's a bonus. They need to add that in there. Just like if you talk of the analysis or predictive intelligence or tax intelligence, it's all custom. There's always going to be that account team or account rep. They meet with
Very true.
the segment of work folks. Whoever
Very true.
sold that pursuit, and then they get it in. But yeah, great questions. Great questions. Yeah. But
Yes, yes.
all the information you need is out there. Yes, you might not know the costing, but if you once you present your thing that, okay, you're talking of timeline. If you don't have anything spooky or fancy or whatever like customization, normally in 90 days you guys are done. In 3 months, except you're talking to like a government client who has a lot of processing and blah blah blah. If not, every 90 days you should be ready. If it's basic, close to out of the box as it can be, you guys are done, because it's you use the guided setup. It tells you go in that fashion, plug and play. You guys are going, you run that thing. It's ready. It's working, right? Have their full glory validate. You should be ready, man. In 90 days. But that's plus or minus, right? Nothing is fixed on stone. You're just giving a guesstimation, basically. But that's it.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that is absolutely true. Yeah, from my experience, so sometimes, right, and that's a good question. So sometimes there's a disconnect between the salespeople, the people who actually get the SOW and those agreements, and the people who are actually performing, the implementation. In every good, like, sales conversation, there should be at least one technical person there. But typically, some companies don't have those people, so they overestimate or underestimate. So to come to your point, we definitely will have a change order on this project because they definitely underestimated the size of things. Because this was supposed to be like an MVP out of the box, stay clear cut like this, but they started to ask for some specific functionalities that they were used to in the past. So I come in and say, hey, we don't have enough time to do all these things right now. And for the time estimation of how long building is going to take, so I always take stories into two categories, customizations and configurations. So if they're just configuring, do this, click this, no, it's pretty straightforward because I'm pointing out those stories. So I'll give it and I'll put it in mind the time to build, time to test, time for quality assurance when I point the stories. When it's customization and it requires some scripting or manipulation of some workflows or things like that, I give it extra time to do, but it takes time to build, to test, and to validate. So I use those as my guide sticks for configuration and customization. So when I'm done with all the pointing stories, we look at it, we break it down. How many developers do we have? How many hours are they working in a week? Then we break it down 40, 40, 40. So if we have, let's say, 400 stories and we have 4 developers, so we can break it down per developer, per 40 hours a week. We do all the math, and that will help us understand, okay, this build will take maybe 3 weeks, maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months. So that's when we are used to, gauge that from an architect standpoint. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah, so like I said, we go through this step by step, and this is one part that I really did enjoy. When I got here, this helped me understand how these things happen. So when I came into this place, I realized that, there's requirements for some plugins to make sure, the CSM and the ITSM have a seamless integration. So for problem change incident, you require this plugin right here. And then for with request management, you require this plugin. I mean, because request management is a very tricky one. It is ITSM at the same time it's not ITSM. It's like a standalone because request management also has the ability to connect with ITAM, with CSM, with ITSM. It's just a medium of requesting for a service. So it is a special standalone, so that requires special treatment. So that's why it's in a zone like this. And then the role responsibilities, work on the ACLs. So yes, and just go down to the list, and if you have service portfolio management, you come to this step, you go through this and implement. So yeah, let me see. Right, so those are the things I leverage when it comes to architecting or implementing or solutioning for clients. I keep it very simple and I keep it efficient. I don't like to do too much. So can you see my slide again? Checking before I
Yeah, we
proceed.
can.
Oh, perfect. Great. So this is the overview for the ITSM. Like I recall I pointed it out in Now Learning, if you remember. So like this is one diagram, one thing that, I mean, this one as well, but this one really explained it to them and made them understand what CSM provides and what ITSM provides. So looking at ITSM,
Can you move? Can you click on it and then move? Because it's kind of like it's stuck when you move to the other screen, or you need to go take the thing to the other
yeah,
screen and then
oh
it
yeah,
should.
I can, yeah, I can see it's doing that. Okay,
Okay.
right. Okay, I opened a small screen here so I can see what you're saying.
Mhm.
So I'll keep an eye on it. Okay,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
good now,
That's
right?
good. Yeah.
Right, I'll keep an eye on it now. So as you can see, so this is like a one-stop architecture to show you CSM and ITSM and how it works. So to explain again everything I've been saying, CSM is customer facing. Customers can create cases through the portal, chat, email, phone, talk to the customer support agent and use the virtual agent, and they can use all these to create cases. And then the cases is assigned to a customer service support group, external. Looking from this angle, internal employees for ITSM can use the employee portal, chat, email, phone, service desk, virtual agents to create an incident, problem, change, request management. Sometimes by themselves and sometimes through a service desk operator. And this will be assigned to a technical support group for resolution. But sometimes a case might not be able, as customer service support group might not be able to solve a case. It might require additional effort or a more technical team, because these people here are not technical. They just know how to read KPI articles. A more technical team to solve the problem. So if that's a situation, then an incident record, a problem or a change or a request has to be generated from a case to solve the problem. And then when the problem is solved, it goes back from here back to the case. The case gets updated, and then this person, the agent here, speaks or communicates back to the customer that, hey, your case has been resolved. So, and the customer will go through the case and close the case if the customer is satisfied. So the customer only has access to this, does not have access to this, and this person can communicate back here, and this person can communicate back here. So this literally is the scope of dividing and segregating ITSM and CSM. So this is literally what I sold to the customers. And then this slide kind of shows the same thing, but in a different way. As you can see, like I said, request management is a standalone sometimes. So it does its own thing. But customers will create cases, and then from the case, you generate all this. And even from an incident record, you can generate a problem or change, So this goes back and forth. But to get to the customer, you have to always go through the case. The case is a point of an intermediate between the customer and wherever is happening on the back end. And then, excuse me, and then of course the request on its own can stand on alone. So that is it. So now I'll just, demo something real quick that will show you how this works, and to also show you how this works. Hopefully this screen will not do any harm again. Yeah, it froze again, so I'll be share. Great, same experiment.
Yeah, okay.
So let's imagine a scenario of a customer calling in to create a case. And then, no, let me do this better. Let me impersonate an actual agent. Let's use David Blue. I use this guy a lot. So David Blue is a customer support agent, and is tasked with let's do this. Let's use a workspace. So the customers were keen on, okay, going forward, they want to use a workspace for resolving CSM. And so we have a CSM configurable workspace. Typically, there's also something called the agent workspace that you can also leverage, but it is less configurable, and ServiceNow is trying to move away from it. The same way ServiceNow is trying to move away from workflow and user flow design. So they're moving away from the agent workspace. So they're trying to push configurable workspace because this integrates seamlessly with other workspaces. So let's assume, this is the right one I'm using. Oh, I think I did this thing too much. Okay, yeah, good. I created this. So you can also configure your list of what you want to see on workspaces, which I did. So let's assume, David is a customer call representative, and he gets a call from a client that, hey, I'm not doing a change request. I am doing, let's go to my cases, or all cases. So as an agent, he has the access to see all the cases that it's being processed in the system. And then let's assume the customer calls in and has a problem or wants to resolve a case. And first of all, on the phone, then but the channel will be formed because it's a phone call into the office. So phone. So the first question is, hey, what's your name? And let's assume the customer says her name is Linda. It's somebody unusual. And then after getting that, so what product are you calling about? So any product attached to Linda or any product at all will be showing up here. So if customer has that information, you put that here. So install base is actually a tricky one. So think of CI on incident record. Install base is very similar to CI. So an install base is a CI utilized by your customer. That's usually what an install base is. So when you're trying to debug or to troubleshoot the customer's issue, you find, okay, which CI is attached to this install base, then you troubleshoot that CI. That's why you need to understand, okay, which of these install bases are attached to this customer. So Linda has these 3 install bases attached to her. So let's say, let's pick this one. Linda has this issue. And then, okay, you can also, assign it to a group, wherever is in charge of taking care of this. Let's say support group. And yeah, and typically I always recommend we just keep this as a support group. We don't use any assign to, because that would be a single point of failure. Just imagine this: if I assign it to one person and this person is in office for the next 4 weeks, that means this case will not be resolved. So you want to assign it to a group, so anybody that's available in that group can take care of it. And then, so when you talk about entitlement, so this is the kind of customer service that is given to a client. So is it a 24-hour service? Is it a 5 hours a day service? So you have different entitlements, and you attach this entitlement to the accounts or to the customers. So right now, this person has no entitlement. And then contracts as well. What kind of contract do they have? So this is a company. So this is a contract of this install base. And then, let's say, and I ask, okay, what's the problem exactly? And she could say, well, let's just assume that's what she's saying. It's down. So you see what happens here? So once you say my network is down, this short description is tied to the KB article. So immediately you put in that information, it goes through this and it sees what can I point it to. So I have created a similar example for the client using my network is down. So ServiceNow automatically goes through all the cases I've had in the past that I've resolved. Like, oh, network is down, fix. How did I do it? So it goes through it, anything that is similar. It goes through it, so these are the things, recommendations I'll be giving to the agent. So when the agent can read this, then the agent can be able to tell the customer, how to resolve the case. And at the same time, if that's not what you want to use, you can check all the knowledge articles as well. So it gives you anything similar to my network is down as well. So this is a fast way to resolve cases through going through the case. And then you have the regular work notes and the flows and everything. So let's save this. If we right. So going back to it, as you can see. So going back to the PowerPoint where we spoke about the integration of ITSM and CSM. So let's assume the agent has gone through, what's his name? My name is what here? David Lu. So I can assign it to myself. Oh, David is not part of this group. But let me see. Let me just take this out. Let me assign to David Lu since impersonating. Is there a let's do this. Let me try to refresh this page.
Yeah, but we can use the same one and then anyone in the group and just do it for the demo. Consider
Okay.
like the alignment of the rows and stuff. That's
Oh yes. Okay. See, it's still having this. So it's only showing everybody in this group. So apparently David Lou is not in this group. So yeah, let me just use anybody that. So John or Jason. Let's use John Jason then, just to save time. But typically, assigning to is always dependent on assignment group. If you have a group here, it will show you people in this group. But we'll keep that. So let's assume, David Lou or whatever is already trying to resolve the case, going back and forth with the customer, and he can't find a way to resolve it. And he realized that, the problem is this install base and requires a more technical approach to solve this problem. So what David, so this, where the agent has the choice to think, do I need to change this install base? Do I need to find a workaround, create an incident, or is it a problem that affects a lot of people? So once the agent is able to like determine what he has to do for this, then the agent will, say, okay, I think I need to like raise an incident record to solve this problem. So it will come here, and then from here you can seamlessly create an incident or a normal change or a problem or a request. So without the required plugin, you would not see these options here. So ITSM and CSM are both standalones, but when you have their integration plugins, then you get access to be able to seamlessly create record from records. So let's assume, okay, this we have to create an incident record to resolve this case. Great. So as you can see, it took the colors name from there. It took my network is down, short description from there. And we can also do a lot of configurations or configurations to take more information from here. Maybe you want to move in, maybe additional comments, private notes. You can also move all this information from here to the incident record. So now that this has been done, so now we can now assign it to the, let's say, network support team to solve this issue. So that is one way that you can generate an incident from a case. As you can see, it's telling me here that an incident record has been created. And now this is something that I want us to understand. So let's assume I come here to the case, where's the state, and I want to close this. Let's see. That's a problem. Yeah, it's not going to let me close it because I have to put in resolution cases. But as we can see, so we can generate incident records from cases. We can also generate a problem record. We can also create a request from this case. So when we create all these let us assume we create a request. So when we create all this information, all these records, so after these records have been resolved, then we can now go back and communicate with the case agent that, hey, this thing has been resolved. Can you kindly tell the customer, are they satisfied? If the answer is yes, then the case can be closed. So why I'm doing the workspace is because the workspace can give you, you see, you have case here, you have incident here, you have request here. So rather than going from here, from one place to another, from going from record to another, everything is in one spot, and which is why most companies are adapting the workspace rather than, just not doing that. And one other thing I need to show is probably the last thing before we go is the customer experience. Why do we use CSM? So CSM gives us a dedicated, let's do this and let me impersonate somebody else. Yeah, first it here. If we want to, before we see. So let me impersonate one of our customers, like I said, Linda. Okay. So every customer we have will have access to the environment through the portal. So we impersonated Linda. So if we give her the URL, so thanks to CSM, she has no right or no authority to do anything here. She can't do anything. She can't send information. So automatically your instance is safe from threats or vulnerabilities if you use CSM, because it's designed to keep that barrier between customer and your internal users. So let me do it. So exactly. So every customer has a login that they can go into the system. They can go and read any reg article to help resolve their cases themselves. And they can also look at every past cases they've ever created. So here is all the cases they've created in the past. So if they are required to do any action, they'll see it here. If they're required to do any case, they'll see it here. And if they've requested anything, like I said, request is standalone, they'll see it here. So for every request generated, a case is attached to it. That's why you see cases here for request. So it's CSM is quite broad, it's quite interesting, it's something that is enjoyable. Well, this is just the case that I have worked on or I'm currently working on, and I felt like it's going to be a good idea if I shared it today. And yes, leveraging these three resources will help you in turning to whether be developer, an architect, or even a BA. Definitely BA. Now Create is great for BAs because you can see starter stories, you can understand the process. And of course, the guided tour is the best for BAs because you know how to construct your story based on what ServiceNow is recommending. Yeah. So before we conclude today, are there any questions?
Thank you, Hafiz, for the opportunity. So we don't have any other questions. It was only, I think.
I have a
Correct.
question.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
Yeah. When you were going through the guidance setup and you were saying that you would discuss with clients that you make sure you follow more or less every step or every implementation. Are there like instances whereby clients would say they don't need that? How would you go about that if they go against what they plan?
Oh, sorry, you're going in and out. Can you repeat the question? I don't know if it's from my side or your side.
Yeah, I said when you were going through the guidance setup, you said usually that you would allow the client to make sure they follow every step to implement it. I
Oh,
think sometimes there's a situation where they would not want to implement everything.
oh, yeah. Oh, great, great, great. Thank you. That's a good question. So I don't necessarily force them to follow every step. So what I do is I let the SOW guide me. Every functionality they need, I compare it to the guided setup. So anything that they ask for that's in guided setup, I speak about those things. I bring it forward to them. I don't just say because there's an agreement on, is it an MVP? Is it just out of the box? Is there, how many functionalities do you want? So I compare the SOW to the guided setup. So the things that they want that is in the SOW and the guided setup, those are the things I focus on and ask them, okay, you guys say you want this. How do you want it to be like? This is how it works. How do you want it to work for you? Okay, this is how you want it to work, right? That would be customization. Do you want this customization? I'm not going to recommend it, but if you really want it, this level of effort, it will increase the time to do the story, and it's probably going to increase how much you're going to bill you. So that's how I kind of go step by step. I use the guide setup as a yardstick to kind of guide how I go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. I don't necessarily have to show them everything. I just show them what is in the SOW.
No, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
In scope and out of scope. That's really it.
Exactly. In scope and out of scope. Yeah, that's the right terminology. Thank you.
But
Because customers will push you. They'll push you. They know they not pay for it, but they want it.
shiny
So it's
tool.
your job to tell them. Yeah.
Kay was asking if you wanted to share the link to the document, but the major thing is that you know that you have access to now create, and and then that you can filter just like Google. Google is powerful stuff. Once you put in any query criteria,
I'm
boom,
telling you.
easy, right?
Yeah,
So the
yeah, I
same thing
found
is
out
now
now create.
create that thing. I mean, it used to be only for partners before, right? Service implementation methodology, but
Oh,
now it
really?
now creates. It's now available to everyone. Like all it is for you to go there. Before it used to be a partner portal only, right? But now this is everywhere. Customer success. Let everybody go there and engage with it. Prior, it used to be strictly for them, like partners, implementers, and stuff. But now it's the whole ecosystem. So that's where now create comes in, right?
Very true.
Partner
Very true.
implementation methodology. But that's the beauty there. It's to leverage on it, uh, and then it's many a time plug and play. The MVP stories are there. Your different skill level. Like I always say, everybody's an analyst, right? Some are technical, right? Some are process or function, but everything you need to succeed is available to you. Leverage on it. Plug and play. Just remove the ServiceNow placeholders. Put the company info. Some stuff that are that are not in scope or whatever. Take them out. Put just the thing they need to get your work going.
Yeah.
Put
I was able to put that document in the chat, but up, is it visible? No, it's not. It's under content.
right. They'll be good.
Yes, but yeah, but it's something you guys can just go through and help,
Good
like
deal. Good deal.
help guide the journey.
Good
But
deal.
please don't just go through this. Go through that now. Create. It's a gold mine. Trust me.
Good deal. Good deal. Thank you, Hafiz. And then once again, also the ServiceNow Technical Architect for the Americas is coming up. Currently, the one for Europe, Middle East, and Africa just finished for this week. The CTA program, it's coming up for the Americas. I think the final one for the year, I believe, for the 24th, it will be open. So so long as you have the requisite certifications, you should be able to apply. It's also, there's a cost to it. I think $7,000. You go through that, cohort, and then not just that, ServiceNow and then the partner ecosystem, even for customers, they are actually championing that, most of their practitioners should get certified So they are giving, a ton of push for certifications, even microsets. So get as much, knowledge in different application areas, and there's a lot of, ton of implementation opportunities or projects that will actually leverage those skill set coming up. And then, for architects too, that's something ever. Oh, okay, that's helpful. And then that way we can get to it.
Yeah. Sorry. There's also another architect cohort.
Right,
It's
you
like
mean
a step.
the step
It's
before? Yes,
yes,
architecture excellence, the 2,500 one. Yeah, they just introduced
yes,
that. I think
yes.
they have the one currently supposed to be running, or they just finished the first one for May, which was their first batch, but they are currently doing the one for June. I believe June should be on now, or it should be receiving this thing so that they can continue on or something like that. Yeah, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, yeah, a great reminder. Any other questions? So, Cave, you can always go in there with your own information to download. You can go in there. It's the link is just, I guess, maybe because I'm signed in myself. Um, what's the cost for the pre-cohort and qualification? 2,500 is for that architectural excellence one. I
Yeah.
don't think there's a real and it's pretty much online too. All of which, I think there are 60 seats too as well for those. If I remember,
Yeah.
one is 50, one is 60 or
So, but
something.
my question is, my question right now is like, for the architect itself, you have to have like 2 CIS, a CAD for you to qualify. Is it
Right.
the same
Mhm.
thing?
No, you can go. We can even do that one. If you go to if you go there to the architecture excellence, there's no real requirement. It's just okay. You're getting it's about think preclude thinking of joining the architecture program. So there is really no need. It's more like you doing your uh, pre-masters kind of thing. You're coming in to see, what it will entail kind of thing. They will show you, walk you through change management, the organizational change management, and then how to use those artifacts, those methodologies and stuff, and get you prepped up. I think it's kind of like, a month or 2 months. I can't remember exactly, but I know it's 2,500. It's just that it's more like check this out. But it's also going to be one where a lot of people will be using it too, especially in the market. So I don't think there's a need for like all those 3 years in the space and have this XYZ amount of certifications. No, I don't think. I don't think you need it. Because I remember as at the last
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it's like I think admin and one CIS for the architects, the 2,500 architect program.
Oh,
Oh boy, it's
Just
too far.
it's cost. Yeah, there's nothing free. That one is for a fact. There's not.
hey, I mean, it's better now because when I was doing like I said, when I did CAD,
16,000. That.
uh, CAD used to be
Now they
2,200.
Now at least they have courses on demand. Before they didn't also have
Oh yes.
on demand. So it's a good way.
Yeah.
The only thing is that the partners is to get them for a killer because they get them in their group and stuff. So it's a good way to do it. I look at it from that
Yes.
point of view.
Very true.
But yeah, but if you go there, you can download the documentation for anyone that you speak about under that Now Create. Each person, whether you're a private one, private email or partner email, if you go in there, you should have access to Now Create and download any resource you need, whether it's the assets in themselves, implementation, PowerPoints or decks or checklist or whatever. You can download anything. Even the projects themselves, you can leverage on them the XML file. If you have the plugins for your project portfolio or SPM, or you have the agile development, you can download those stories. It all depends on what you want to do and your role within any project. You should be able to deliver on it and download whatever asset or artifacts you need. That will help you. But once again, great presentation of fees, and thank you for sharing your Saturday with us. We will be sharing recording in a little bit. Then the information, your contact for Hafiz so that you can connect with him. That way, we can keep the networking going. There's a lot of great as resource and assets that we have in our community of people that are doing the great thing in the ecosystem, doing the tremendous work. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.